Welcome back to my channel Bloom with Belief.
The study of fungi is known as mycology. The scientist who studies the fungi is known as mycologist. And the another term is mycotoxicology. It refers to the study of fungal toxins and their effects. Study of the fungal toxins and their effects. And the disease caused by fungi. The fungi that causes diseases or the disease caused by fungi are called as the mycosis. This is the another term. So in total there are four terms: mycology, mycologist, those who study the fungi, and the study of fungal toxins and their effects is called mycotoxicology, and the diseases that is caused by fungi are called mycosis. Now let's move to the little bit of historical background about the fungi. Here the founder of the mycology is told as the P.A. Micheli, Pier Antonio Micheli, and he is called as the founder of mycology as he has gotten a contribution that he has wrote a book known as the Nova Plantarum Genera in 1729, in which he first described many fungi, and he also demonstrated that the fungal spores can produce individual in new individuals. So, because of his contribution, he is known as the father of mycology. So, founder of mycology, and he is the P.A. Micheli. So, this is one of the objective questions that may be asked. And next one is the father of modern mycology or the father of plant pathology, who is the one Anton de Barry. He is known as both the father of modern mycology and the father of plant pathology. So this is also an important objective question that may be asked for you. And he is known as the father of modern mycology or the father of plant pathology because he has explained the life cycle of the fungi and their role in the plant diseases. And talking about the contribution in case of Tom, the Tom fungi was given by the Gaspard Bauhin. So here founder of mycology is the P.A. Micheli, and next one is the Anton de Barry, who is known as the father of plant pathology and modern mycology as mentioned above. Okay, and this scientist at the last, this photograph is of Caspar Bauhin, who gave the term fungi. So these are the general things. Now let's move to the characteristics, which are general characteristics of the fungi. So there may be an objective question that which of the following is the heterotrophic thallophyte? Okay, this is an important question. Which of the following is the heterotrophic thallophyte? Then your answer will be fungi. Okay, and it is obviously fungi are the eukaryotic organisms, so they have a more differentiated nucleus, and the cell membrane bound organelles are also present in it, which is an character of eukaryotic organisms itself. And they are the multicellular decomposers. They are also found in the unicellular forms, but most of them are the multicellular ones. And previously it was under the Thallophyta division in case of two kingdom system, that is Plantae and Animalia, where the fungi were placed under the division of Thallophyta, but later by the Whittaker, R.S. Whittaker, who was the scientist giving classification of five kingdom system, as you know, in this they have formed a separate kingdom called the fungi or mycota fungi, which is also known as mycota. And next one is that you have been known since childhood that chlorophyll is absent in fungi, so they are unable to perform photosynthesis, so they obtain their food by absorption, so they are also known as the absorptive heterotrophs, and the absorptive organ is called hostorium. So this is also an important point, that the absorptive organ of fungi is called, then there will be hostorium, and its plural is hostoria. And likewise the body organization, if we are talking about, then the A single filament of mycelium is called hyphae. Okay, actually, many hyphae uh, and its many entangled hyphae leads to the formation of mycelium. Actually, leads to the formation of mycelium. So hyphae are the tubular cells that are with the cellular wall, and the last composition of hyphae may be compactly arranged or loosely arranged. In that basis, there are different kinds. We'll let describe it in detail. But if in simple form, the entangled mass of hyphae is known as the mycelium. Okay, and the mycelium are formed by the groups of hyphae that are packed together. And this is the picture of mycelium, and this is the picture of hyphae. So the single filament of mycelium is called hypha, and the plural form is the hyphae. Okay, and the group of hyphae is collectively called as mycelium, as I have already told it. And the reservoir material is glycogen, as like in the animals is common. Glycogen plus oil droplets in some cases. Likewise, fungi has an sterol, that is ergosterol, which is as a replacement of cholesterol in animals. This is also an important point that which kind of sterol is present in the fungi, then your answer will be ergosterol. Okay, and the nutrition is absorptive type, which is absorbed by the help of ostotrium. And talking about the hyphae, there are two type of hyphae. That is, one is the septate hyphae and another is the aseptate hyphae. The aseptate hyphae is also known as the sinusitic hyphae. Okay, and the septate hyphae is clearly seen in the figure that there are cross walls. These are the cross walls that separate, and in each there is nuclei, and in case of a sinusitic or the hospitated hyphae, there is no cross walls, so they are multinucleated in the structure. So moving towards the cell wall composition, very important question for you as an objective question. Okay, that is, the cell wall of the most fungi is made up of chitin. Okay, and the chitin is a nitrogen containing polysaccharide which is composed of the n-acetyl glucosamine, which is an amino sugar. So you have to be careful that in case of this talking you have of the cell wall of the fungi, then it is made up of chitin, which is a polysaccharide which is composed of n-acetyl glucosamine. You should remember the n-acetyl glucosamine. This is an option in your auxiliary question. Very important point. And talking about the chitin, it has been also occurred in the exoskeleton of arthropods. That is example is for insects and exoskeleton of arthropods, example, and insects, crabs. Likewise, in case of oomycetes, there is a special group of fungi-like organisms where the cell wall contains both cellulose and chitin. So there may be another objective question for you guys, that which of the following class of fungi contains both cellulose and chitin in the cell wall, then you have to answer the correct option, that is oomycetes. And the cell wall can be stained by staining agent is the lactophenol cotton blue, commonly cotton blue or methyl blue. There may be different kinds of option as it is a diagnostic feature in the microscopic study. And lactophenol cotton blue is the mixture of methyl blue or histological stain and lactophenol. Lactophenol cotton blue is a mixture of methyl blue, which is histological stain, and lactophenol. So lactophenol cotton blue is the example, is the mixture of these two both. And sometimes in options there may be an option methyl blue, or sometimes cotton blue, or inside it may be lactophenol. We should choose the correct one as given there in options. And next, so the facultative saprophytes are normally the parasitic fungi. that can also live saprophytically on the dead organic matter when the host is unavailable. So this is the case, and the example is Alternaria, Fusarium, or Sclerotium robsii of the facultative saprophytes. Now moving on to the next mode of nutrition based fungi, that is a parasitic fungi. So as the name parasite, it obtains its food from living organisms that are their host, which often causes diseases. They use hostoria as their absorption organ or absorbing organ to penetrate the host cell and absorb the nutrients. So these are the hostoria. So example of parasitic fungi are, one example is Poxinia graminis that causes white rust disease. Likewise, another common example is Osteolagomedes that causes the corn smut disease. Likewise, another is the Candida albicans that causes human candidiasis. Likewise, there may be obligate parasites. Obligate parasites are those that cannot live without host. And another is the facultative parasites, which can normally thrive as the saprophytic but can become parasitic. So facultative parasites are actually normally saprophytic but can become parasitic. That example of it is rhizopus. Mostly asked question of one of the objective is, which of the following is the facultative parasites, and your answer will be the rhizopus. Now, next type is a symbiotic fungi. Symbiotic means mutual relationship. Those which live in mutual relationship with the other organ. That is, both are benefiting. The most famous symbiotic example is of lichen. That is, it has symbiotic association between alga, or that is cyanobacterium, and fungus. Here, the fungus provides water and protection for the algae, and the algae provides obviously the food for the fungi. So example is Osnia, Parmelia, Cladonia. We'll detail study about lichen in our next video, but here let me introduce that Osnia is also commonly known as old man's bread. So this can also be your objective question of one, that which of the following is also known as old man's bread, then your answer will be Osnia. Got it? Now next one is now we are discussing the symbiotic example of mycorrhiza. Commonly you have been familiar with the term mycorrhiza. It represents the symbiosis between fungal hyphae and root of higher plants. The fungus here helps in the absorption of minerals, especially phosphorus. This is the previously asked question in your exam. So this is very important, that which of the following minerals absorption is helped by the fungus especially, then your answer will be phosphorus. And the plant provides carbohydrate to the fungus, acts as root hairs in the adverse condition. It increases the surface area, that increases the absorption capacity. The example is of glomus species. So there are two types of mycorrhiza, that is, one is the endomycorrhiza and another is the ectomycorrhiza. The example of endomycorrhiza is the glomus species, and the Amanita boletus like are the example of ectomycorrhiza. Ectotropic mycorrhiza, and talking about its simple definition, that I will explain you the difference between the ecto and the endomycorrhiza. So let me draw you a section of the root cell. So like this is fully formed as are small cells, and you can imagine that if the mycorrhiza it doesn't penetrate the cortical cells, it just forms a type of hearting net. This type is the ecto, and the one that penetrates the cortical cells like this, it penetrates the cortical cells like this, then these are the endomycorrhiza. The ectomycorrhiza forms the hearting net like structure, but that is absent here. No hearting net in case of endomycorrhiza. Here, the ectomycorrhiza forms a fungal sheath around the plant roots without penetrating the root cells, as I have shown you. And another, it is the or endomycorrhiza, that is orbuscular mycorrhiza, as these one penetrates the root cells and forms a vesicle-like structure, and this vesicle-like structure is known as the orbuscular mycorrhiza, if also known as VAM, vesicular orbuscular mycorrhiza, commonly in case of endomycorrhiza, as it passes the cortical cells and produces a solar structure inside that is called as vesicle, and these are also known as the VAM, that are orbuscles. And likewise, in case of endomycorrhiza, it penetrates the root cells, forming the orbuscles and vesicles inside them. And another interesting thing is that the ectomycorrhiza fungus is usually in case of basidomycetes, and in case of endo, it is the fungus is usually, what is it? Zygomycetes. So each one is your optional objective question. You have to be careful. I have taught you that ectomycorrhiza has formation of hearting net. It doesn't penetrate the root cells. Just opposite is in the case of endomycorrhiza. Plus, there is the formation of orbuscles and vesicles. So it's also known as the vesicular orbuscular mycorrhiza. And ectomycorrhiza is present usually in the fungus Basidomycetes, and in case of endomycorrhiza, it is usually present in the fungus Zygomycetes. In endo, that is Zygomycetes, and in ecto, that is Basidomycetes. Okay, now let's move forward with one example of the ectomycorrhiza. It is seen commonly in the conifers. Okay, conifers like pines and cedars, and likewise the non-conifers where ectomycorrhiza is seen is oak and beech plant. And in case of endomycorrhiza, it is seen in like vesicular or viscular mycorrhiza types, which is seen in with the close association with like orchids. And one important point is that note yourself that one of the fungus is known as Rhizoctonia, is a common fungus that is found associated with the roots of orchids. Understood? Likewise, second point of your note can be and fungus known as neurospora. There is a question from this neurospora that you will be asked that which of the following is known as the Drosophila of plant kingdom, or it can be like, or it can be asked, wait for a sec, it can be asked as the pink bread mold or red mold. then your answer will be what? Neurospora. Understood? Now let's move above with different types of fungi. You will be asked among them, some of are important. We will discuss the important ones. So one is the coprophilous fungi that you are familiar with, that is grown on the dome, and the common example is Pylobolus. It is a Pylobolus fungi. Okay. This is the Pylobolus fungi, and another is the epizylic or epizylic. Difference in the spelling, but it means that it grows on the decaying wood. And one of the example is of the genus Tramatis. Another is the predaceous fungi, that is, it traps and kills the nematodes, and the example is of Arthropotrice. And one of the very important point you have to remember is a keratinophilic fungi, that it is the fungi that grows on the hair, nails, or feathers, and the example of it is the Trichophyton. Likewise, commonly lignicolous means it is decomposes the lignin in the wood. That is the Ganoderma, which is a very important medicinal mushroom. Medicinal mushroom. Another is the parasitic fungi that lives on the other host, causing diseases. Obviously, an example is of Poxinia graminis that causes the rust in wheat, like it's a disease causing agent. Another is symbiotic fungi that live mutually with other organisms like glomus, mycorrhiza. And another one is the aquatic fungi, and this is one of the important that you have to remember, that it is grown in water. And the common example is Saprolegina, which is also known as the water moths, also known as the zoosporic fungi or eye fungi that belongs to the class Oomycetes. And another interesting thing that you have to remember about this class is it is one of the primitive class of fungi that has biflagellate zoospores in it. This is also another objective question. And there are endofungi, that is, that live inside the plants that are harmless for the plant. Likewise, halophilic that thrives in the salty environments. Psychrophilic fungi, cold regions like Cladosporium herbarum. Another is thermophilic fungi that grow at the high temperatures. Example, Thermomyces. Like with xerophilic, that is, it survives in the dry conditions like Aspergillus glaucus. One of the very important question of the Aspergillus, I have already told you, that is Aspergillus nidulans is the one in which parasexuality was observed for the first time. So this is another question, that in which of the following the parasexuality was studied in body introduced, that it is the Aspergillus nidulans. The next one is the endolithic fungi, that is it inhabited inside the rocks, Cryomyces antarcticus. The next one is the saprophytic fungi that live on the dead organic matter, that is example Rhizopus stoloni. For now, shortly let's review about the reproduction in fungi. It reproduces by spores that are non-motile in most cases. Another is the asexual spores that are produced by mitosis, so they are also known as the mitotic spore. And their examples are of Conidia, sporangiospores. The Conidia mainly they are wind disseminated. Likewise, sexospores are produced by the meiospores, known as meiospores. And these meiospores are examples of the scospores that are formed in the class Ascomycetes. Likewise, basidospores that are formed in the class Basidiomycetes, like so on. And likewise, motile spores, that is zoospores that occur only in the primitive groups, that is Oomycetes and Chytridiomycetes. I have taught you somewhere about this as well, that is Oomycetes has the biflagellate zoospore, and likewise Chytridiomycetes that has a single posterior flagella. The Mycetes has two types of flagella or one type of flagella. If two types of flagella, then one is the whiplash flagella and another is known as tinsel type of flagella, that is with the hair-like masticonium's presence. Because non-motile spores mostly are dispersed by the, it requires agents. Obviously, if there is no motility in the spores, it requires agents, and the dispersal agents are air, water, or the animals. In case of fungi, talking about the nutritional importance of fungi, they are rich in protein and vitamin B12, that is riboflavin, that is specially yeast used in the food industry. Example is the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that is also known as the baker's yeast. So, which is the following is also known as the baker's yeast, and your answer will be Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is used in the bread, beer, and vitamin production. So that's all for today.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and share.